Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the award-winning show, The Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, Jamaicans are most likely to help strangers. It is indicated. Is this a stark contradiction or embedded culture? And in the second watch, snapshots of news. And these include: does the future of media mean the joining of forces between companies or media outlets? Is this progressive, or is it a sign of trouble, or both? Secondly, we'll be looking at considering full free movement among CARICOM states. And thirdly, police commissioner puts cap on 152 murders for the remaining 71 days of the year. For our social media question, we ask, would you help someone if you knew there was a risk to yourself? If so, why? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp at 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on in the program. But first, as I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, always give 100% unless you are giving blood. This one is from Bill Murray.
That one speaks for itself.
Yeah, you 100% that blood. So,
Good morning, Juka.
Good morning.
The first watch will be back after this break.
We know you're making every dollar work harder, choosing carefully, buying what you need, and making it stretch as far as you can. That's why Grace is giving shoppers discounts on over 20 of your favorite Grace products when you cash out at participating supermarkets. It's our way of helping you sweeten moments together, share more meals, and take care of the people you love. Make a good move with quality savings from Grace.
When we started this company, we were focused on helping people find their way. And when it comes to critical illness and life insurance, we're all about helping people find a way to live more. Like our JN Life Aid that covers your first diagnosis and is there in case of a second occurrence. That's how much we're invested in you living your life. Welcome to the art of living insurance from JN Life.
Done, triple grease cleaning power, each foam lasts longer. Done, triple grease cleaning power, you scrub less often. Done, triple grease cleaning power.
Find it at a great price in your favorite store or supermarket. Formula with 3 grease cleaning agents versus another dishwashing soap of similar price.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. This is the first watch. And according to recent studies, Jamaicans are among the most likely people in the entire world to help a stranger. Yet this comes from a nation too often associated with high murder rates and fear of violence. Is this a paradox? Perhaps the real story is not the crime, but the courage and compassion that still exists amongst Jamaicans. Jamaica may face challenges, but its people continue to show that even in a world of fear, kindness remains a choice. And some might even ask, does it remain a choice? Well, we have as our guest this morning to discuss this somewhat paradoxical topic or issue, Reverend Christopher Broadbaugh, Senior Pastor, Hope Fellowship Church, and he's also a counselor. So we'd love to hear his perspective. We will also be having on Dr. Dave Goss, Reverend Dr. Dave Goss, Senior Lecturer and Director, Institute of Caribbean Studies, University of the West Indies, and pastor of the Whitfield Town Church of God. Reverend Dr. Dave Goss and Reverend Christopher Broadbaugh, good morning to you both.
Yes, good morning. Morning, Stokeley.
Good morning.
I can hardly hear the both of you, but hopefully we will be able to have that rectified in a few. But I heard the both of you say good morning. I hope you're hearing me well.
Yes, man. Yes, we are hearing you clearly.
Yes.
Excellent. You seem to be far away. You're not sure what might be happening. Now, does it seem odd to either of you that a study has found that Jamaicans are very likely, the most likely to help a stranger, a total stranger, but yet there are such high rates of crime here, starting with you, Reverend Christopher Broadbaugh, as a counselor.
Hey, Stokely. No, it doesn't seem strange. Remember, one of the things we're known for is our warmth.
I'm going to throw to the announcer for a minute. Can you pause, please? I'm not hearing you at all, Reverend Broadbaugh. I'm not sure what is happening. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch. Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch having a conversation with Reverend Christopher Broadbaugh and Dr. Dave Goss, Reverend Dr. Dave Goss. And we do apologize for what appeared to be a technical glitch a moment ago in terms of the ability to participate fully in the broadcast. Reverend Christopher Broadbaugh.
Sir, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear now.
Awesome. All right. Great. Yeah, what I was
Thank
saying.
you. Thank you for your patience. And just to remind those who might be joining, the topic is Jamaicans are most likely to help strangers. Is this a stark contradiction or embedded culture? Continue, Reverend Broadbaugh.
Yeah, one of the things we've been known for is our warmth, generally. That's been commonly accepted that Jamaicans are very warm people. So it's good to see a study, it's the World Happiness Gallup report that states that we are ranked number one in most likely to help strangers. It is good to see a study that is proving, that we are a compassionate people. Yeah, and I have no problem attributing it to our culture, which is fed by our convictions, our Christian convictions, that the anthem and our pledge kind of create, so we are convicted to be compassionate, and it's just a part of our culture. I remind people this is why we defend our culture and we celebrate our culture. And we don't allow external practices. We should not allow external things to make us compromise on the things that we are convicted about. And being generous and compassionate is something we are obviously, it's now documented, we're obviously a very compassionate, caring people. And we don't want anything from the north or wherever else
to contaminate this virtue of ours, and we have to be careful about that.
Okay, well, Reverend Dr. Dave Goss, your thoughts as a historian, as someone who practices in the area of culture?
Yes, thank you very much, Stokeley, and greetings to Christopher. Yes, I agree with Christopher, but I would add two important points here. First, I say that it is rooted in our Africanness generally, right? African people generally are very hospitable people because we came out of predominantly village systems, right? Now, fast forward now to emancipation in 1838, right? Remember now then that many of the former enslaved people left the estates and became peasants, living now back into communities, right? So you're talking about communities, and these are communities now, some of them now were church sponsored, so you're talking about like Maidstone, the Moravian Church in Manchester, we have Granville, in St. James, we have Salem, we have Kettering, Buxton. So what happened after slavery is that our people, given different circumstances, chose to remain independent but poor, living in communities cut off ideologically from traditional uptown, white colonial Jamaica. And this is the way these communities now then, you have to live with each other, you have to support each other. And I remember as a young boy, I grew up in Mayday, Manchester, as a young boy on a Friday, the men in the community came and worked at different fields. So one Friday they work at my father-in-law to extend field, the other Friday they go to another person's field. The community bonded together. That have not left us. Right. So despite the fact that post-independent, we have become, we have seen some element of violence, especially political violence initially, which have now become economic to some extent. We are not a violent people. We are still a loving, caring people. And as Christopher said, rightly, we are high on that list. And I'm sure you'll see other African countries on that list as well. Nigeria, if my memory is correct, Sierra Leone, Liberia. We are there because we are generally hospitable people. Now the Christian culture now have enhanced that, because in these communities now, traditionally you'd find a Baptist church, and an Anglican church, as some of the older churches and Moravian churches, that kind of thing. So Christian culture enhanced our socialization after slavery, and that's why we have become and remain a hospitable people.
Well, just before we head to the break, let me take a look at the article just for a second, because published in the Jamaica Observer, October the 14th, 2025, Jamaica has ranked number 1 in the world for its people being the most likely to help a stranger, according to the World Happiness Gallup Report 2025. Jamaica is followed by Liberia and Sierra Leone, which also show high levels of generosity towards strangers. While these countries rank high for helping people in need, they lag significantly behind in charitable donations. Jamaica, Liberia, and Sierra Leone sit more than 80 places lower in global rankings for contributions to charity. The report highlights similar trends in Nigeria and Kenya, 2 countries that also rank in the top 10 for helping strangers, but fall near the bottom when it comes to financial contributions to organizations. Well, there's a reason clearly for why we may be ranking low in terms of contributions to charities, but maybe that's another conversation. Or gentlemen, you might want to weigh in. But after the break, because we're up on a break now, listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Time on Love 101 is now 7:15 a.m. The NHT will be accepting applications from pensioners for smart energy grants of up to $1.5 million. With the NHT Smart Energy Grants, pensioners can install solar panels at home and save on electricity. Applications are being accepted via the NHT website or in person at any NHT branch office from Friday, October 24 to Wednesday, October 29. For more information on the Smart Energy Grant, visit the NHT website or any NHT branch.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. In this first watch, the topic that we're looking at is Jamaicans are most likely to help strangers. Is this a stark contradiction or embedded culture? And our guests are Reverend Christopher Broadbow and Reverend Dr. Dave Goss. Now, I'll read a little bit more from the article that I made reference to, published in the Jamaica Observer on the 14th of October, because when you read it in its entire context, it brings us a number of interesting things. The report highlights similar trends, reading back this line again and then continuing. The report highlights similar trends in Nigeria and Kenya, two countries that also rank in the top 10 for helping strangers, but fall near the bottom when it comes to financial contributions to organizations. Continuing now from there. Both nations, alongside Jamaica and others in this category, also face challenges related to institutional trust, with low expectations for fair returns when engaging with the police, a factor that often correlates with people's reliance on formal systems. This pattern suggests that in societies where institutional structures may be perceived as unreliable or distant, people turn to one another for support, rather than relying on organizations that may not have the reach or accountability to help directly. Citizens in these countries prefer to extend generosity to individuals they encounter personally. This is often through human connection rather than through formal charity. In places like Jamaica, generosity and goodwill become not just moral imperatives, but tangible expressions of trust among neighbors and strangers alike. Reverend Dr. Dave Goss, your thoughts? Because the article seems to be suggesting a different reason for the wanting to be kind to strangers. Lack of trust in formal systems, so we will trust each other and we'll extend that courtesy to strangers. Reverend Dr. Dave Goss.
And this is where I have a problem with the kind of criteria used, because obviously it's a Western, kind of model where they are using their culture now to evaluate our culture. And in their culture, people are individualistic and work for organizations. Our culture don't work like that. That's why, for example, we probably we are materially poor, right, but rich, because it is a village. It is a village which raises individuals. So you have to look at it from that sense, right? That is a Western pole using their ideas of what life ought to be like, where you live in individual houses and you want to be as far from your neighbor. When you watch those American shows, and you see your neighbor next door, you don't want to be near to your neighbor. It's different for us, because we depend on each other, and so therefore then that's why we will support each other, right? So it's not a paradox for me, just how the person who wrote the article or the criteria used is kind of Western based, where they're using their kind of biases, right? But the point is still clear. We traditionally, no, that's kind of changing now, I must say, because we are now, under the
subject.
States, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So changing now.
Yes.
Traditionally we are.
So can I jump on and support that and say we have to be careful now?
Reverend Broadbow, that's you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We have to be careful now this is what I'm saying, to protect our own social norms, and not think that it is more virtuous to give financial contribution to organizations that do the heavy lifting to help society. It is a healthier norm for individuals to care about each other and care about strangers. That's a better look, and that must be, it's funny that the report, well, the article, not the report, the article is suggesting that, one is, the latter is better than the other, that we fall way down on the charitable giving, but we are in the top 10. We are number one. Jamaica is number one by some margin with regard to individual helping to help each other. Now, what would we prefer? We'd prefer that each person helps their neighbor, and not just with cash. It's not just about giving some cash and waving bye-bye. It is giving time, giving care, showing love, showing compassion with cash and kind. We may not be giving to those, Red Cross or other organizations, but we're giving directly to the person in need, and that is more virtuous.
Reverend Christopher Broadbent, are you criticizing these organizations, including the one that you just named, sir?
I'm not criticizing, but what we have to, I'm very cautious about defending our culture, the virtues within our culture, because they're under assault. We think development is...
The Red Cross might think that you're assaulting them.
No. Well, I mean, everybody, will throw stones. But if you hear clearly what I'm saying, one is more virtuous than the other. Certainly, let me hasten to say.
I hear you. It's just that you mentioned the Red Cross.
No, give to them, give to the organizations, the Samaritan purses, and the whosoever that does good work, good charitable work. But let us salute our people for the virtue of being willing to come to the aid of a stranger. That is good, The other is, I'm not saying there is any wrong in giving to charity, but I am certainly saying we must celebrate the fact that we are compassionate people and encourage that. People think.
Are you saying in a nutshell that having these sorts of institutions is a Western construct, not really not an African construct?
Well, this is what Dr. Goss is also suggesting, that, and I fully support that. That society is healthier when people look out for each other, not necessarily creating just organizations or institutions to look out for groups. But as he says, the village is harmonious and caring about each other. Funny we say it is an African thing, but we know that from history, and Dr. Goss, you can say if this is so or not, but it was said that Columbus came to the region and found a very compassionate people, and therefore he took advantage of them. So it seems, healthy cultures are compassionate. We read in Acts 28, where in Malta, what the writer, Luke, the physician, calls a barbarian people. They were compassionate to receive Paul and the Romans. And it says they show them no little kindness. And so some cultures are inclined to just show strangers compassion. Columbus benefited from that. Paul, the apostle, and his crew benefited from that. And we take that as Jamaicans to another level. We are very compassionate. People come here, they stop over here, and they're, treated so kindly and warmly and loved and given the last breadfruit and so on. That's good, and we encourage that. We don't want anything that makes us now start to become, I will give some money to that organization and I don't business about nobody else. I gave some money last week. Leave me alone. That's not what
and I would
yes.
Yeah, I support the point that Christopher is making, but just to say again that this idea of like Red Cross giving is really an uptown thing, right? Because well, that's an uptown thing. I mean, we all do that now, but traditionally we have to support each other. We have to depend on each other. That's why you have a thing today called Run Robin, and I'm sure you guys know about this Run Robin in the communities where one weekend somebody cook something and everybody come join in and make their money next week, another person do it. It's a way of survival, you know. So we have done it to survive. So to give it to Red Cross because we have done to give to Red Cross generally.
And throwing partner.
And to partner, right? It's for us that means of survival that have kept us alive and kept us going.
So you are seeing a class element to it because it's
of course, yes, because I mean somebody who have money and don't want to really associate with people, just give it to Red Cross. You don't have to interact with these so-called working class people. You don't give it to Red Cross. Red Cross will distribute it kind of some Western culture.
So you think that the article, in terms of how it is framed, youth and Jamaicans being likely to help strangers, is it that you're saying that it is likely that Jamaicans who are not uptown Jamaicans are likely to help strangers?
No, I think that it has become ingrained in our culture generally. But I'm just saying that there's a class element to it regarding the issue of giving to institutions.
Okay.
We do it because we have to survive on each other, right? It's mutual in a sense. The class element comes in now whereby some people who can afford to give will give it to Red Cross because you're not really in touch. You don't live down where the people are. Your existence don't depend on them per se, so you can give. For us now in the villages now, it's a matter of survival, right? So we naturally give to each other because we're all connected, and that is part of the reason why the violence thing came in, because when these communities are so close, right, and a politician decide that boy going to use our hospitality for each other to carry our entire community one direction, and that's how the kind of political violence kind of kicked in, later on, but because the vulnerability that we have, that we don't have much, we have little bit, but the little we have, we're going to share it, because next week I might not have much, so I depend on my neighbor for that, and that's how we live. So it's a natural thing, given the fact that we are poor, right? So
are you comfortable with large commercial entities giving to charitable organizations in large sums of money?
But that is good. I mean, that is good. I'm just
that is not an uptown characteristic.
No, man. It's not uptown.
I'm just testing your theory.
No, I'm just saying that for us, for working, because there's a thing called working culture, popular culture. Popular culture is what keeps this alive, because that's all be the survival.
Okay. So while we have charitable organizations, that is virtuous, that is good. But I think what trumps that, unfortunate news right there, but trumps that is...
You use that a Freudian slip or not?
So let's say so. Is when a society of people hear about each other, so much so that they care about strangers, naturally and instinctively, that is good and has to be protected. I know I've lived overseas, and I have a lot of colleagues, friends who are overseas, and they're happy to come back to Jamaica because of this dynamic of ours, and a lot of visitors too are happy to come to Jamaica because we're that kind of people that.
I want to raise this though in the last couple of seconds we have left. They said Jamaicans have a lot of bad mind. How you reconcile that with likely to help strangers?
I don't know that show me the science. Where's the report that says that part? But I don't have a bad mind. But
we hear about the term bad mind all over the place in Jamaica.
That's politics, man. That's politics. Even off politics.
Even off of the political platform, we hear it all the time.
Well, we struggle with the other part.
Was that a Freudian slip as well, Reverend Dr. Goss?
No, that's deliberate.
It wasn't.
We struggle with the
we're not taking that one on in the morning watch, though.
With the other part of Jamaicans being violent.
Yes.
How do we come figure that out? But that is what I say. We defend and fan the virtuous parts of our culture, which is some of the Christian aspects of our culture, which is the kindness, love your neighbor as yourself.
I'm getting a signal, gentlemen. This is a very interesting conversation, mixing history, sociology, culture, religion, just being kind to your neighbor, good to your neighbor, you know, Africa, West Africa. But we're completely out of time, gentlemen. And thank you so much for being with us this morning, Reverend Dr. Dave Goss and Reverend Christopher Broadbow. Thank you, sirs. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
Start your journey with a JN Small Business Loan with small business loans as little as $10,000 and up to $4 million. The time by JN Small Business Loan is
7:31.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
See so you can make the part, travel part, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Why free? Every community, the citizen security plan, yeah, it need all our way. Yo, make your vote. Everybody want a safer country right now. Start up, that one and CSP. What up? Marcus education and the key. Start up, crime prevention better than cures. Lock the gun then, open more doors.
Citizen Security Plan is an initiative of the Ministry of National Security in partnership with the European Union. It's an all-of-government effort to create safer streets and build stronger communities. Go to eminence.gov.jm to learn how you can play your part.
As a contractor, I never work without a plan.
As an electrician, protection is always a priority.
If you're a small business owner or an independent contractor, there's a plan that gives you protection and coverage. Sagicor Pro Shield. Get up to $1 million critical illness coverage and cover up to 80% of your medical costs for as little as $15,510 every 3 months. Get the protection you need with Sagicor Pro Shield. Call 876-936-7784. Conditions apply.
Fresh and 21st Avenue C. New Down Eaton, a softener with a scent for cozy eyes. New Down Eaton, fresh and 24/7 with a scent that lasts. New Down Eaton, find it in your favorite store.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Gleaner, menacing Melissa. Menacing Melissa. Principal Director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, Evan Thompson, says he's not ruling out the possibility of Tropical Storm Melissa making landfall in Jamaica. And there is much more to that story that listeners can read. So I invite listeners to read that story in its entirety because it is affecting the weather at the moment in terms of the content and of that story and the learned views, if I could say, learned views of the Principal Director, Evan Thompson, in his area dealing with the Meteorological Service. Also here in the Gleaner, Sandy Gully race against time is another headline. Sandy Gully race against time. Desilting efforts underway in attempt to clear path. Limit rain water overflows during storms. I'll read that entire line again. Desilting efforts underway in attempt to clear path. Limit rainwater overflows during storm. That story by Karen Madden. I invite listeners to please please read the article and to generally please keep abreast of all the news in relation to this tropical storm. We now turn to the Daily Observer. No need to panic, but Melissa could be first hurricane to make landfall in Jamaica since Sandy in 2012. Kingston, St. Andrew, Portland, and St. Thomas could see massive flooding. This story by Linford Simpson. Again, listeners, please read, listeners and viewers, please read this article and all other articles, if you can, on this impending weather event here in Jamaica. And we also have reference to a story at page 4 of the Daily Observer. Burger Gully residents brace for another flooding nightmare. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. And again, listeners and viewers, keep abreast of all the weather alerts concerning Tropical Storm Melissa, which is at the moment a tropical storm. Coming up next, we'll share with you some of the feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, would you help someone if you knew there was a risk to yourself? Why? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 1FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
Mysterious, magical, mesmerizing. Wouldn't you like to experience the natural beauty of the Northern Lights? You could be the lucky one if you use your cards right. Spend with your Sagicor Bank credit card from September 29 to November 13, 2025, and you could win an all-inclusive cruise vacation for two along the Norwegian coast to see the Northern Lights. Chase the Northern Lights with your Sagicor Bank credit card. The more you spend it, the closer you are to your dream adventure. Enjoy the best rewards ever. Conditions apply. Authorized by the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission.
Need to speak with an officer from the National Land Agency's Land Titles Division? The NLA's QME Flex appointment system allows you to consult with an officer from the Land Titles Division online or over the phone from the comfort of your home or office. Book your appointment today at nla.gov.jm. For more information, call 876-750-5263. The National Land Agency. One agency, one goal to serve you better.
By your side, looking after life. We've been here for 25 years and we are
Guardian Life.
Just getting started, leading the way every day, protecting you and yours at every stage.
Guardian Life.
Looking after life, caring for family, caring for you. Looking after life is what we do.
For every generation, for every stage, your partner for 25 years. Guardian Life.
Looking after life.
Done, triple grease cleaning power, each foam lasts longer. Done, triple grease cleaning power, you scrub less often. Done, triple grease cleaning power.
Find it at a great price in your favorite store or supermarket. Formula with 3 grease cleaning agents versus another dishwashing soap of similar price.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now for your responses to our social media question. Would you help someone if you knew there was a risk to yourself? Why? I gather that there is a response. Well.
All right, so let's hear from Edna in Montego Bay. Or her voice note is loading. Let me see if I can grab the phone to do it while it loads up. But Edna sent her voice note all the way from Montego Bay. Let's hear what she has to say.
Okay.
Good morning, Wash. Good morning, Love 101 listeners and staff. Yes, I would go out of my way and put myself at risk to help someone in danger. Yes, I would. It depends on the level or the nature of the situation in which I am going to help out in also. But definitely, if I can help, it doesn't matter. Person might be in great danger. I would want to assist. Yes.
Thank you,
Edna. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Trical, for letting us know what Edna had to say. Thank you very much, Edna. Well, we move right into the second watch. Now for snapshots of news, changing gears somewhat. Our guest is Kevin O'Brien Chang, social commentator. And in our snapshots of news, we'll be looking at, just a reminder for those listening and those watching, does the future of media mean the joining of forces between entities? Is this progressive or a sign of trouble, or both? And another one, considering considering full free movement among CARICOM states. Any comments on that? And police commissioner puts cap on 152 murders for 152 murders for the remaining 71 days of this year, 2025. Our guest, Kevin O'Brien Chang, should be on now. Good morning, Mr. O'Brien Chang.
Morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Good morning. Always great having you on the morning watch.
Thanks for having me.
The first, certainly, sir, the first topic in Snapshots of News. Does the future of media mean the joining of forces is progressive, or is it a sign of trouble, or both? I'll read a little bit before you comment, sir. The recent announcement that Jamaica Observer Limited and Gleaner Company Media Limited are forming a joint venture to streamline print production and distribution marks a significant development in Jamaica's media landscape. This collaboration reflects broader regional trends and underscores the challenges and adaptations within the media industry. Mr. O'Brien Chang, is this about operational efficiency and cost reduction or something else?
By the way, I want to step back. You asked a question about would you help someone if they were at risk? I don't know. Didn't hear the previous conversation, but Jamaica.
Yes,
Jamaica ranked number 1 in the world survey about willing to help people. You saw that survey, right?
We referred to it in the first one.
I forgot as much came from that. Yeah, but it, we don't give ourselves enough credit. I find. And this is relating to the question I'm going to answer there.
Okay.
Jamaica, especially the media, loves to dwell on negativity. Loves to. They highlight negativity constantly. We had one article on that thing about Jamaica ranked number 1 about helping, and we ranked number 9 in volunteering. It's out of 150 countries or so, right?
Yes.
We saw one news article on it. How much publicity did that get? But every little bad thing happens, endless front pages and news stories. And I'll go back to the question about the linking together of the Gleaner Observer.
Yes.
Well, all over the world, it's hardly a secret that newspapers are in trouble. There's been a massive, ever since the internet came along, a massive decline in newspaper readership. And so it's a universal problem. But the entities can adapt, and some have adapted across the world. And certainly in Jamaica, I've always said, this obsession with negativity must turn off people. As I said, we hardly want, especially one of the newspapers, I'm not calling any names, and that one is losing 50 million a month. And they rarely
you are sure about that? You're sure about that, sir?
About what?
Losing $50 million a month?
Yes, it is widely known. Our media entity, it is all the time in the news. Losing 50 million a month, roughly. Now the share prices have gone down, and the publicly traded company, the biggest one, and the results are there to be seen. And it rarely ever puts any good news about Jamaica on its front pages. It is always negativity.
It has been said, I've read it before too, that when you publish a lot of good news, the newspapers are not snapped up by the public.
That's what they say, but there are many things said. Is there the proof of that? All I can know is what is being done now is not working. When you see something in massive debt going down and keeping a strategy, there's a whole thing,
It's necessarily a link between
anything. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result each time.
I was just putting it to you, sir, that maybe there's no link necessarily between publishing what you call negative news and losing money.
We don't know, but we do know that you are doing something and you're losing 50 million a month. So all I can say, we don't know. What I say? Correlation is not causation. But we have seen the results are there to be seen. What you're doing just ain't working.
Newspapers worldwide are having challenges, but we're upon a break already. So I'm going to ask you to just hold that thought for a moment, Dr. Chang. Brian Chang, my apologies. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back with the morning one.
Yeah, man.
Grace is giving shoppers discounts on over 20 of your favorite Grace products when you cash out at participating supermarkets. The time by Grace could move is
7:45 a.m.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch and we're looking at snapshots of news. And the first item of news we were looking at is, does the future of media mean the joining of forces? Is this progressive or signs of trouble or both? And we have two other snapshots of news to cover as well. Our guest, Kevin O'Brien Chang. Kevin O'Brien Chang, I'd call you Dr. O'Brien Chang earlier on. I don't know your title, sir.
Mr. Chang.
Mr. Chang. I don't know why that just flew out. Maybe you're to be soon.
Trust me, not well up to people earlier that said it. I'm sure clarify for them.
No, maybe.
I respect him as a minister. He's the best minister of security we've ever seen by results. But we're not related, maybe distantly. I mean, not a doctor, him a doctor. Give him the props, all right?
All right, sir. In terms of the future of media and the joining of forces between these two entities, do you have any other comments to make? Because...
No, it's inevitable. Listen, as I said, newspapers are struggling. They're going to have to revamp their strategies. They have to listen to their audiences, give the audience what they want. I am not convinced that our newspapers, especially one, is giving the audience what they want and reflecting what people are talking about on the ground. Often I see these front pages, and it's one of the greatest divides in Jamaica, in my experience. I try to talk to people on the ground a lot, security guards and regular folks on the ground you come across, and their topics of conversation are not what we see on the front pages. For example, one newspaper forever is about Integrity Commission, morning, noon, and night. I doubt 1% of Jamaicans even care about Integrity Commission. So I'm saying if you're not in sync with your potential audience, you're going to have trouble no matter what you're doing. So there's two things, One is a worldwide trend, which you can't avoid, and the other one is what exactly are you doing to link to, your natural audience, your natural readers, to get them to read your stuff. Are you talking about what they want to talk about? And I'm not convinced that Jamaican newspapers are doing that. I think there's a big divide, a big gap, and that is nothing to blame but yourself if you are not monitoring your audience and making sure you're in sync with them.
Well, more on that. Let us see, because others may have other views, but thank you, sir.
Well, of course, that's why we have a democracy.
Yes. Moving on to full free movement among CARICOM states. I'll read a little bit here first before you comment, Dr. Sorry, Mr. O'Brien Chang. There I was doing it again. Across the region, the call for full free movement among CARICOM states is growing louder. Barbados, Belize, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines are the newest signees to a full free movement agreement. Supporters say it's the next big step toward true Caribbean unity, making it easier for our people to live, work, and to do business anywhere in the region. But others worry about the realities, job competition, border control, and whether all our countries are really ready for such freedom of movement. And some may even ask if this looks like a resurrection of the West Indies Federation that had, I guess you could say, failed. Mr. Brian Chang, what are the opportunities and the challenges of this?
You talk about the realities. The trouble with CARICOM is that the country is very much in size. Some are like 60,000, right? Jamaica's 2.5 million. We're the largest English speaking. But then they brought Haiti into CARICOM. That's 10 million people.
You're saying that the population of Jamaica has fallen to 2.5?
All right, 2.7.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
Actually, we might be falling. No, we don't. All right, call it 3. We don't know. But 2.7. But King I said 2.7.
I thought maybe you had some I thought maybe you were breaking some news here on the morning.
No, sorry. Misspoke. It's 2.7 million then, according to Statin.
Okay,
right?
All right.
Some are 60,000. And Haiti is theoretically part of CARICOM is 10 million.
Okay.
If I'm a country of 60,000, and I hear told about free movement, and even leave out Haiti, look at Jamaica, 2.7 million. I said, right, if 10% of Jamaicans move, that's 270,000 people, right? 1% to 27,000, that's half of my thing. CARICOM is a lovely idea. And I guess we are all nostalgic, the West Indies cricket team, when all of us growing up, and as growing up, we started as one entity, and so we just started West Indies at one place because of the cricket team. But the political reality is very different because there's different sizes. And as I said, if I'm 60,000 people, how could I want total free movement from Jamaica? If 1% of Jamaica come here, 27,000 people, they could swamp me very easily. The talk is cheap.
Yes.
Talk is very cheap. But if you look at the realities of a politician, it's hold on a second here. The reality is very different from the talk. And that is the problem. People, they throw these things out and don't look at the numbers. And so this free movement thing and all that, yes, it sounds wonderful in essence.
Yes.
But the reality is it just cannot work for small countries.
Like one big nice country, but
it's, as I said, it's just not. If you look at the numbers, and especially if you factor in Haiti, it's impossible. 10 million Haitians without swamping the entire region. So the politicians didn't think it through. As usual, the politicians often, and especially in an entity like CARICOM, which has no real effect, they flash these fancy words around and try to get people's attention with these glittering phrases. And then when you look at the reality, but it's about it's not gonna work.
Mr. O'Brien Chang, if you speak to people on the ground all the time, I don't know if you've ever mentioned anything to them about CARICOM and free movement. If you happen, but I'm just inquiring. Or what
the people on the ground, they don't really grasp those kind of things. Certain things they talk about, that is not one of them that they talk a lot. But if Jamaicans would love to go to richer countries. Let's be blunt here.
Yes.
Somehow we're falling, and people from poorer countries will always want freedom to move to richer countries where there are more opportunities. It's a natural thing in human nature. So yes, Jamaicans will say, yeah, we want free movement to go to Trinidad, they have oil money, and even Guyana now, where Barbados is richer. Yes. So it's one thing for Jamaica to say what they want, and we're the biggest of the English speaking by far. But I'm talking about the realities of the other countries, where you're a smaller country and you see yourself being swamped by these bigger countries, you're naturally going to put up barriers and say, no, I don't want this. I want to keep my country. It's human nature.
By the way, Mr. O'Brien Chang, you had used a Jamaican slang earlier on when you were speaking, but just a gentle reminder, sir, if you can just give us some grace. We are a Christian radio station, sir.
Oh, what I said, sorry for missing.
I don't even want to repeat it.
Okay.
It wasn't a bad word, really, in the sense of a bad word, but
I apologize for that. Okay, I apologize for that.
Grateful, sir. Grateful to you, sir. Yeah. Based on our audience in particular.
No, I understand, and not everything goes to eat, good to talk. So I accept the correction.
Sir, moving on to the police commissioner putting a cap, saying that no more than 152 murders for the remaining 71 days of the year. And I will just read a little bit of it here. In a bold announcement this week, the police commissioner set a target to limit the number of murders in Jamaica to no more than 152 over the remaining 71 days of this year, 2025. This kind of explicit cap is unusual, but bold, maybe some would say.
Because you want to keep it under 700. If we keep it under 152 for the last 3 months,
yes,
we'll be under 700 for the first time since 1991, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's a worthy goal, and we should all be supporting the commissioner. We'd all say, yes, commissioner, we're there with you. Because, listen, by far the biggest news story of the year, and there's none that even compare it for Jamaica, is the 40% decline in murder. For a year, ever since I returned from Jamaica, I went to school and came back in 89.
Mr. Brian,
feeling old now. But ever since I've been following Jamaican news, the biggest issue has always been crime, violence, murder, except for during COVID.
Yes.
It's always been the biggest problem for the populace. And I've watched that murder rate, and I came back in 89. It was 400 murders per year. I saw it climb 5, 6, 8, 1,000, 1,500. Remorse just getting worse and worse, and like we're helpless. And for the first time this year, in 30-something years, we saw the last 3 years, we've seen a 50% drop. But this year has been historic. And the people, I can tell you this without fear of contradiction, you go around and talk to people, they love it. Never feel so safe in the longest while. But drive downtown at all hours at night, no one afraid. I went down one time with a driving coming up about 12 o'clock and the man have a window open. So you feel safe? I say, yes, man. The gunman, I'm afraid. Run from police. No, I'm never afraid of no gunman. This is the single biggest change in the quality of life in the Jamaican people this year and for a long while. We should be celebrating it, but do our media entities celebrate it? No. Almost nothing on the front pages about it. And this is why I go back to where are you talking about what the people are talking about? And they're not. And the other aspect which we do not talk about either is the police force. Once upon a time, we all grew up Eastman, Babylon, big songs, beat down Babylon. Yeah, we all grew up with that. And the Jamaica, the JCF,
yes,
Jamaica Constabulary Force
yes.
was formed after the Morant Bay Rebellion, 1867, and their goal was not to protect the people, to keep the people oppressed, so the black people could not rise up again. That has changed dramatically this year. The last 5 years, I talked to the policeman yesterday. I said, when you started the change? He said, 5 years ago. And I'm feeling it, yes, man. Nobody give us negativity no more. It's one of the biggest social and cultural changes in the history of Jamaica. And again, our media entities talking about it, discussing it, the implications that caused it. No. Can't follow this thing very closely.
O'Brien Chang.
And that I'm saying is...
I'm interjecting a second. Why has the drop in murders been so significant?
Because people want to stay alive. The greatest human rights.
In other words, what strategies have been employed by the JCF, the Ministry of National Security, that has caused a reduction?
But it is very simple. The first step was giving the police the equipment. Now, the first step actually was filling your complement of police, more boots on the ground. Okay. The physical,
so you increase the cadre, yes.
Cutting the debt to GDP ratio to 140, it's gone on to 60%. Open up fiscal space for the government.
On the financial side, there's more money to spend.
There's more money, and it was spent wisely.
You can hire more police,
save money,
more
and they said, okay, we have money to spend, we're going to spend upon security, number one issue.
Including surveillance technology?
Everything.
Everything.
If you look at it, you see it. If you look at the JCF,
more vehicles.
More vehicles. But first of all, is more police. The first time we built full complement of police ever, 14,000. You have more man on the ground. Yeah. Better technology.
And women.
If they expose the JCF put on, showed you.
Yes.
All the stuff they can do. And even the people from the other Caribbean countries say, whoa, Jamaica is state of the art. So the first of all, that is the thing. But the state of emergencies were critical, because the gangs were controlling Jamaica, and to break the gangs.
So you agree to the SOEs?
Well, the proof is in the pudding.
Okay, I just want to know.
Yeah, because the gangs were controlling Jamaica, and you couldn't break the gangs over the SOE, because when they took in the gang members, nobody would testify.
All right.
Right? Because they couldn't take them in. There's no evidence. The SOE took them in and allow the cases to be built. Because when they're out there, who's going to testify when they're out there to kill you off? We've had when last is a witness killing in Jamaica. That's a very common thing 5-10 years ago.
Mr. Branchang, only because of time, but we've heard you loud and clear. Murders are falling, and there are concrete reasons for it. A lot of
concrete reasons, and we must talk about it and celebrate it and urge and back the police.
And we have to leave.
They're keeping us safe.
Thank you, Mr. Branch, and we have to leave it there. Only because of time, we're now upon the end. Thank you, sir, for your time and for your thoughts. And thank you, listeners and viewers, for being with us. Very interesting conversation this second rush. Thank you again, Mr. Branch, and thank you so much for spending that time with us
today.
Thanks for having me. Join us again next week as we look at other topical and controversial issues. And of course, visit the Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page, and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Listen to the Morning Watch on our Love 101 app. Download it today and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests. Join me again next week as I continue to look at the issues of the day. I am Stokeley Marshall, handing it back to Love in the Morning with Drakal.
It is now 8 o'clock. Thank you for listening to the Morning Watch. Coming